everybody, to the Nightly News Podcast. This is Professor Paul Miller, and I'm so honored to be joined today by coaches of the Central Penn Knights esports team. The only team, I might add, that has a national championship in its resume. We are being joined here today by head coach Mikeal Pecot and assistant coach Donnie Lewis, as well as Nightly News reporter Tam Bowie. So we're going to talk here about the upcoming season, talk a little bit more about some events, some dates that you're going to want to keep in mind, and we'll take a look back at the fall season and see how it went. So, Mikeal, welcome back to the show. It's always a pleasure to have you here.
Good to be back. Thanks for having me.
And of course, Donnie, thank you for joining us today as well.
Of course, I appreciate it.
And Tam, this is your first really opportunity here on the Nightly News Podcast, so it's a pleasure to have you here as well with us.
Hello, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, Tam, I wanted to start off with something. In our pre-show meeting here, you had discussed that you had, in preparation for today, looked up a little bit about some of the history of esports. So for some of those out there who might be new to the concept of esports, I was wondering if you might share a little bit with us about some of the information that you've been able to find.
Yeah, thank you. So I did my research ahead of time. I did a little bit of homework. And so I found out that through the years, that the very first one for the esports tournament as a whole, the very first ever tournament was in 1972.
That's crazy.
For Space Invaders. And that was held in Stanford University, the prize for which was actually a year-long subscription to the Rolling Stones.
Which is pretty crazy if you think about it, how far magazines have come, that was a prize for winning an esports tournament. But it also goes to show how long esports has been around. Maybe it wasn't called esports at the time, but I think it shows. And Donnie, you also mentioned that not long after the initial Space Invaders, that Donkey Kong was also one. Tell us a little bit more about that, maybe what you know about that.
Yeah, the Donkey Kong tournaments are still relevant today. They still have the tournaments, but that was the second big tournament that they had. So they still give out prizes for those kind of things today, even the older games. So
I love how even and what's interesting about what you guys do is there is sort of a division between, of course there is a gaming club, much more casual, which is a lot different than esports. So in case somebody didn't tune into our last episode and maybe kind of understand the differences there, Mikeal, can you share with us a little bit what the differences are between the gaming club and the esports team?
Oh, yeah, of course. So we have our gaming club, which is the advisor is Stefan Urbany, and he does a great job. They meet every Tuesday for about an hour and a half, where they play casual games. They did a cool Phasmophobia night around Halloween, and they do games like Jackbox. They'll do Cards Against Humanity. They'll do all the fun games that you like to play in groups. And then on the other side, we have the esports, where we're competing against other colleges in selective games. Right now we have Call of Duty and Rocket League, so we have some Valorant interest. So there's a variety of games that we can compete in.
And also, I don't mean to sort of spoil what we have coming up, but it looks like a Fortnite team may be on the horizon for the spring term here.
Yes, our newly nightly news anchor here might be a part of that team.
Yeah,
so
I've been practicing.
Let's go.
Been grinding, and I've just been trying to get better.
Yeah, so that's a little different, because for Fortnite, it will be duos. So it'll be Tam and a partner going against a bunch of duos in a battle royale. See who wins.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, let's go back to the national championship season of 22-23. So you are a part of NACE, which is not the USCAA, which is what are the remainder of our sports do fall under USCAA. Correct me if I'm wrong, USCAA does not offer esports at this point, so NACE was the next best option?
Yes, sir. Yeah, NACE, and then HAC competes under another organization, which we've been looking into as well, because they offer 2K, which NACE does not offer, and we have a lot of 2K players on campus, so...
Interesting. So there's still sort of the Wild West, if you will, of organized college esports gaming. So which we're still trying to feel our way through, which I think is interesting. And hopefully over the next couple of years we decide which division we want to be in, which division is going to work best for us. But as we come in, again, I know I had you on previously, but in case anybody didn't hear that episode, share with us a little bit about your impressions now a year out from the national championship. I'm going to ask both Mikeal and Donnie, relive the moment when you won that national title, and then share with us a little bit about some of the reflection for basically a first-year team coming in and winning the national championship. I'll start with you, Mikeal.
Yeah, so just reflecting back on that, I can remember like we had one guy who was always in the lab, Jeffrey Elicker, just like consistently, like no matter what day it was, no matter he was in there. It's like, dude, do you have anything outside of this gaming lab? Like, and that was really the foundation of the team. Like he set the standard, and along came Cam and Dom, kind of two stragglers like randomly that we came across where we just threw them together and magic happened pretty much. So it was like one of those things where they weren't really recruited, since Cam was a soccer player and Dom was a baseball player. They're already students here. It was just a matter of getting them together and, creating that team. So.
And Donnie, as you think back to that national championship, I mean, what does that mean to you? Obviously, like I said, at least since I've been here, the only national championship the school's ever taken home. I mean, that's saying something, especially about a school of our, frankly, athletic stature. I mean, we've had some amazing runs, some amazing teams in all sports. What does it mean to you to step in first season national title?
I mean, now looking back, I'd say it's bittersweet, just because I think we set ourselves such a high bar and try to live up to it, Yeah. But like Mike said, we really didn't look to put them together. They sort of came together on their own, and I think that's what made it special, because they immediately had chemistry, and it's something that you can just pick up on, As soon as we had them play together, you could tell that there was something there. And when they were competing, it was something that it was awesome to watch. So following them throughout the year, they just picked up speed, and we could follow along. And it was great. So our job was just to make sure we kept them on track and just sort of kept them going. So it was great. It was great to watch.
Well, and again, congratulations for that. I don't want to belabor that because we're in the middle of a new season. You hold the belt, if you will, during the off season, and then you got to lay that belt on the line when it comes to the following season. So let's switch gears here, and the first thing that we want to make sure that we mention is that the esports calendar is, as Mikeal put it before, a split schedule, meaning that there are sort of isolated seasons from, it appears, basically September through November in the fall, and then the spring season will begin here in February. Of course, as this is released, we are approaching the month of February, so the seasons for spring will be starting here within the next couple of weeks. So tell us, okay, so let's look back at our fall effort. Unfortunately, I know that it wasn't quite what you'd hoped. The final record of 2-11 on the season. So, what were some of the differences between the two seasons and some of the changes that happened over time? I'll start with you, Mikeal.
I think just losing a lot of our key factors, like we lost our captain, like a lot of the people who were big threats, on the field, so it's kind of tough, especially with the way our semesters go and how quickly people, the turnover ratio here is so fast. It's tough to keep a group of guys together, like Donnie said, that chemistry, once 2 go, 3 go, that's over half your team. So you got to find people to fill those spots. So, and I think that was some of the trouble we came into, losing our key player. Besides that, we also went up a division. And
did you have to go up that division because you won?
We actually did not. That was my fault. I thought with our Call of Duty we had 2 veterans coming back. I thought we'd be okay. Or with Rocket League we had 2 veterans coming back. I thought we'd be okay. But the skill gap was just, you need 3 solid people. You can't have 2 and then 1 okay guy. Especially with the competition in esports. So.
Is there a Division 1, Division 2 type of thing? Is that what you're indicating, or is there multiple, even more than that sort of levels?
It's kind of like, so it's Premier and then Plus. So Premier would be like your A teams, like your San Diego State, your Florida State. All their best guys are in Premier, and then you have Plus, which would be their B teams. So I thought we were ready for the A teams. We were not.
And is that something that you can change your division like mid-season, or it's like every season you have to declare which one you are? Okay, that makes more
it's
sense.
by season. So now we're in the league underneath the one we won our championship in, which I should have stayed in. So now we're back in that league with the guys we competed against before.
Gotcha. So moving forward, this will be a little bit easier for you, at least to remain competitive, at least in the coming up season. Donnie, when you think about some of the challenges that you had in the fall semester, fall term, what were some of those that you can point to, maybe above and beyond what Mikeal shared with us?
I mean, how deep of a dive do you want to take?
Well, I mean,
for me, there's always going to be a factor of when we bring new people on, we try to tell them that there is a big difference between gaming club and doing this as an activity and then doing it competitively, because there's a skill gap there, right? Like, I enjoy playing video games, and I don't know how many of our players are going to listen to this, but if I play them in Call of Duty, they're going to wipe the floor with me, right? Because it's just not my thing. You know, when we're playing guys that are just coming in, our new recruits, they're interested in esports. They love the sound of it. It sounds great. We're going to be doing this competitively, but then when they see what the competition is, it becomes less fun, right? And it's our job to sort of determine, maybe you should look at the gaming club ahead of time and try that out first before you really take the next step. So I think there's a balancing act that we have to do. We really sort of have to try to figure out if the competitive side of things is right for you. And since we do move at a faster pace, I mean, this is Central Penn time, right? Anybody who is around this knows what we mean by that. So just us coaches especially sort of have to figure out how to balance that and navigate that. And it's still a learning curve for Mike and I too. It's still fairly new for us too.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're only really in your second full season, so I mean, that's certainly understandable. Well, I don't want to belabor that point. I appreciate not only how hard you guys worked, and to be honest, I think I give you credit for striving to move up to that next division after the national title. I mean, you never know till you try.
Yeah,
and
right.
now that you have experienced that, now maybe you're not only you, but the team will be a bit more comfortable at that particular level, which I appreciate.
I agree. Thank
Well,
you.
I want to get Tam in here a little bit. So Tam has been really interested. One of the things that we do with the Nightly News is covering our athletics here. And one of the things that we often, as a group, try to identify ways that we can continue not only to improve what we do, but also to branch out and to give coverage across the campus. And one of the things when Tam first came in, he really wanted to cover this beat of esports. Yeah. Because, yes, we've written a couple of articles in the past. We've had you guys on the show before, but we definitely don't give, at least to this point, esports necessarily the same amount of coverage that we give other sports. And we wanted to change that. And so Tam has been working on a story. He's also looking at doing another story about what's coming up in the spring. So, Tam, first of all, how did you get involved in video games? What were some of the first video games you played? And why is this something that speaks to you as something you want to do with the Nightly News?
Yeah, so I mean, I always grew up with esports and just video games in general. As a kid, I feel like my generation especially, we kind of had the mentality of like our parents were like, oh yeah, you can't do video games as like a job. You can't really do it. And now like as esports started to rise and more of that sort of mindset starts to dwindle out, I think it's more important to like bring more attention to that. And as the I guess esports coming into Central Penn, I see that a lot of people don't even know that it's a thing here. Like I talk about it, and then people are like, "What, we have esports?" I didn't. Right. Yeah. So like I thought that bringing attention to that on the Nightly News and like talking about it, writing stories about it, I think it'd be like really good to kind of bring more attention, more awareness, and just bring more light to it.
I think that's great, just because we can talk about it until we're blue in the face, right?
Yeah.
Even as a missions counselor, I will tell every single student that I talk to, hey, by the way, I'm the assistant coach of the esports program, like check this out. But as a student, coming from students, talking to other students about it, there's nothing better than that, right?
Yeah, it's like free advertising.
Yeah, so we appreciate it wholeheartedly, just because the way that we recruit is a lot different than the way traditional recruiting is done in any other sport, right?
Well, I want to talk about that real quick, Donnie, especially from your admissions perspective. I'm sure that it's difficult beyond sort of that initial period. Yes, we do have 4 windows where people can come in, admission windows, right? We have 4 terms. New start students can start at any one of those terms. That being said, in terms of traditional populations, I'd say I'm just guessing here. Maybe you can, tell me if I'm crazy or not. 90% of our new students come in summer and fall. And so if you are trying to recruit somebody, more than likely that's when they're going to come in. Now you're in a situation where you're still actively looking for people for not only Call of Duty, but Fortnite later in the spring, and you're really not able to bring in new recruits. Of course, technically you could, but who knows? It's probably not nearly as easy for you to get those here. So you're really just recruiting the people that we already have here on campus. So can you tell me what kind of hardships that brings to you in terms of, you mentioned our schedule, but in terms of bringing new recruits in that window is typically only going to be for the fall season. Now you're in the middle of the season and you're really just turning to the people who are here on campus.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that we do have going for us is a lot of the students that are here already play the games, right? Already play the games that are already popular, like Call of Duty. We have a lot of Fortnite players, which I'm glad that we're starting because this is one of the games that all the kids play, right?
And I'm sure some adults too.
Yeah, absolutely, right? So that makes our job a little bit easier just because we have a big base to pick from. But that's where we also run into the thing where, are you ready for the competition side of it versus I'm here to do it as a relaxing, casual kind of thing.
Do you have scrimmages that allow somebody to sort of do a test run? I mean, that sounds sort of strange the way I asked that question.
Thank you so much for bringing that up because we actually have open lab nights. We just started doing it recently, but it's open lab, gaming lab 304, right? Yeah, 304 Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. Yeah, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday from 3 to 5. Yeah, 3 to 5. We ask any student to come in. If you're interested in any of the games that we compete in, you just want to come hang out. Me and Coach are always in there. We'd like to watch you play. Just come hang out. There's no pressure at all. Just come out and see how you do.
So one more time, that was the Shoemaker Gaming Lab, ATEC 304, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday from 3 to 5 p.m. are the open lab hours that students can come up and at least to a certain extent experience what you guys are up to.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, we have just a few more minutes here, so I want to talk about a couple of things. First of all, the Call of Duty season starts sometime in February. In fact, as we have Donnie and Mikeal in here, they said that we are speaking just before their meeting to do all the planning. So I would encourage everybody to go to centralpennknights.com. On the main website, you can go up to schedules and click esports, and that will show you the most updated schedule when that is released. So you can always go to centralpennknights.com and click on schedules and esports to find out more information about the roster, any news, and the coaches that are a part of this team. All right, let's look forward to the spring season. Now, you'd mentioned Call of Duty starts in February. What's our outlook for that? Who do we have on the team, and who are the people we want to look out for on Call of Duty?
Yeah, we're actually excited about this Call of Duty season because we have the most returners we've had between seasons. We have our captain back, who's an absolute stud on the game. And then Donnie went after his good friend who streams, which also we'll have to mention that.
Of course.
Our Twitch stream for our viewers. So we got his good friend who's also a very good Call of Duty player on the team as well, with 2 returners. So we have 4 solid guys this season.
Fantastic.
Really looking to make a run.
Yeah, he was watching our captain on the stream, and he happened to get recruited while watching our stream. So
that's awesome, and that's
never know.
I mean, and that's a really great sort of testimonial to what you guys are doing. Yeah. I mean, in how you're recruiting and how you're reaching out to people in maybe a different way than a baseball or basketball team might. Like, esports is so much different in that it is not. You're not taking the same approaches that other athletics are, and how you're reaching out to people, how you're recruiting people. So I think that that's super unique. Now, before we get out of here, I do want to talk about, we kind of mentioned this already, but the Fortnite season you mentioned is going to begin in April. Now, other than the fact that Fortnite's a very popular game, what is it about it that lends itself to you creating a team for esports?
Like you said, like with the recruiting, how sometimes it might come down to who's on campus, which students we get on campus, and that pretty much what it is. Like, 2 seasons ago, we didn't have anybody in the lab playing Fortnite. Now we have, I went in, there's 4 guys in there playing Fortnite. So, like, you got to go with the times, It just, whatever students are playing which games in your area, you just got to figure it out and go with it, you know?
And through NACE, are they open to new games? I mean, how does that work? Is there a large library of games you can pick from to participate with NACE, or are they asking the coaches like, hey, are there any other games that we want to put on the schedule?
I mean, they tell us what we're able to compete in for the particular term that we're in. Fortnite happens to be on there, but I can tell you, we have a ton of students that have interest in playing 2K. It's not on there. Basketball, Madden. If we had an option to play Madden, I guarantee we would have more Madden team than we know what to do with. So we're limited for sure.
Yeah, and we're not quite sure. I have heard that you can recommend games for them to bring, but then they got to go out and contact that developer and see if they're it's a whole process. So, but I think you can. It's just as a process.
Awesome. Well, I do want to give you an opportunity to share with us how we can watch these streams online. Absolutely. Because, of course, that our faithful Nightly News listeners are always interested in supporting our athletic team. So, Mikeal, share with us a little bit about how people can get involved and watch these streams once the season starts.
Absolutely. So we stream live. Our games are typically Monday and Wednesday. You have to wait and see once Fortnite gets released to see when those days are. But we stream live on Twitch. Our Twitch channel is CPC Knights Esports. So if you just go to Twitch, type in CPC Knights Esports, we'll come right up. Make sure you give a follow, hop in the chat, say go Knights. We need all the support we can get.
We'll also post it in the CPC app, time of the game and that kind of stuff, so that we can just click on the link and follow it that way as well. So
awesome.
And our assistant coach is also a mod in the channel, so don't say anything crazy. You will get banned.
Well, I got to tell you, again, while I'm sure that you used the fall term as a learning experience, it seems like you are at least in the running for a solid spring season, not only with the returners you have with Call of Duty, but with the interest that you have in creating this Fortnite team. And frankly, on behalf of the Nightly News, I would just like to wish you the best of luck and hope that you have just another wonderful season. Of course, coming in first season, national championship. Of course, now you've got all of the pressure on you. Maybe now after the last term, maybe the pressure's subsided a little bit, and hopefully you can just have a positive season. And not only that, build some experience for some of those returners coming into next year.
I mean, we got Tam. We have no worries now. Yeah. We're ready to go.
Tam's gonna bring us a championship.
That's right. Let's go, Tam.
I've been grinding. I've been getting better.
That's all you got to
hear.
Ready
to go, Tam.
I'm ready to go.
Let's go.
Well, before we get out of here, I did want to thank Tam Bowie. Tam, not only is it awesome that you've jumped into the Nightly News head first, but I appreciate the fact that you want to cover the esports team, and I hope that if I can provide you any type of guidance in that coverage, that you let me know. And we look forward.
Well.
Yeah, we look forward to seeing some of the articles that you have coming up. So
absolutely.
Thank you so much for coming down to your first Nightly News podcast today, Tam.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
And, of course, I want to thank head coach Mikeal Pecot and assistant coach Donnie Lewis for joining us today, gentlemen. I would love to have you back at the end of the season, and we'll recap how things
Absolutely.
went. Maybe another national championship.
The trophy will be right here on the desk in front of us.
Bring the trophy with you.
And the banner.
It'll be here.
Well, guys, thank you so much for your time today. Of course, you can always go to Twitch and locate the Twitch stream when that schedule is announced. And, of course, you can go to CPC, CentralPennKnights.com, and find out more information about the esports team. All right, well, that's going to do it for this episode of the Nightly News podcast. I'd like to thank Nightly News reporter Tam Bowie and Mikeal Pecot and Donnie Lewis of the esports team. But for me, this is Professor Paul Miller, and we'll see you again next time on the Nightly News podcast.
Hi, this is Steve Hassinger, Career Services Director. Thank you for listening to the Nightly News Podcast.
Welcome, everybody, to the Nightly News Podcast. This is Professor Paul Miller, and I'm so honored to be joined by the Director of Residence Life, Lindsay Garber. Lindsay, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you, Paul.
And we're also being joined by one of our RAs, not only that, but one of our illustrious Nightly News reporters, Sarah Walters. Sarah, thank you so much for joining us again on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Well, today what we're going to talk about is a variety of initiatives coming out of the Housing and Residence Life Office, of which there are a wide variety of different things we're going to talk about. First of all, we're going to talk about the College Pantry and some really awesome grants and donations that we received. Sarah's also going to chat a bit more about the Gamma Beta 5 food drive that is going to be going on over the next couple of weeks. We're also going to talk about the hiring for residence assistants coming up in the spring term. And of course, everyone's favorite campus event, the late night breakfast, is going to take place during week 8. So we got a lot to talk about today. Well, Lindsay, one of the first things I want to talk about is the College Pantry. So the pantry is something that is under your purview. And so just especially if there's new students to listening to the podcast, or maybe even faculty and staff that want to help maybe with some donations, can you just share with us a little bit more about the pantry and how maybe a student could reach out to the pantry if they are in need?
Of course, Paul. So the College Pantry covers 5 different areas. So we've now brought professional clothing into our area. So when you do the food pantry request form, you can actually request an appointment to come and look through and get some professional clothing for interviews or jobs or whatever the case may be. We have cleaning supplies. We have non-perishable food items. We have personal care items. We have school supplies. So we have a lot of those necessities that are found that students need outside of food on campus that we were able to help support the students. When students want to submit a food pantry request, so we have the link posted in a couple different areas. The first one's going to be in your Student Central e-news email that you get a couple times a week. It's under quick links. We also have its own tile on the CPC app. We do have it posted as well on flyers throughout the college and in every housing unit with a QR code that they can literally just scan and complete the application right there as well. If students ever have any questions on it or aren't sure, or just, it's easier to just email, they can always email residencelife@centralpenn.edu and we will respond with the link and get them taken care of.
One of the things that I always like to point out, especially for some of my online classes, is that, yes, while I'd say it's probably most common that our residential students are the ones that take advantage of that, that our evening and online students also may request from the pantry regardless of if they live on campus or not.
That is correct. And if they live outside of our area where they are able to come and pick up items, we can help do some research and connect them with resources in their area as well. So even if it's something that, we have an online student from another state and maybe it's something that we just assist them in their local area of making that connection, we can do that for them.
That is so fantastic. So bottom line is, if you are in need of anything from the pantry, and again, it's not just food. So you'd mentioned the cleaning supplies, you'd mentioned school supplies, and even the professional clothing that is, run by our career services office. I mean, you've got like sort of this one-stop shop here for students and basically almost anything that they would need.
Yes,
which I think is awesome. Well, I do want to, before we kind of move off of the pantry, again, you can always find out through the app and through Student Central to put in a request. Was it 4 requests per term?
Yes. Yeah, you can do up to 4 requests per term. If you need anything outside of that, it's not that we'll turn you away, but maybe we'll see how we can get you some additional resources from either the Central PA Food Bank or other resources in the area too, just to help supplement that, to make sure you're getting what you need.
That's awesome. So what might be the most common types of food items that are available for request?
So we go through a lot of peanut butter, jelly, pasta sauce, oatmeal, especially granola bars. Sarah helps fill some of the pantry orders, so feel free to jump in, Sarah. Fruit cups are really popular, so those would probably be the top food items.
I would also say, and maybe Sarah, you can help me out with this, I've only actually been in the suites a small handful of times. I think a lot of people don't realize that you don't have a kitchen. I mean, you have a kitchenette, but how do you cook food? Like, share with me a little bit about what the sort of cooking situation is in the suites.
Right. So personally, in my suite, we have an air fryer and a microwave and a toaster. Oh, and a rice cooker. But we're able to, with this rice cooker, also like steam veggies with it. So we're able to make multiple different things, but not everyone has that, or even an air fryer. And you can make so many different things in the air fryer. But with the pantry, we have canned like vegetables and top ramen, and a lot of that can go in the microwave. But we also talk about how with canned veggies, you also need a can opener. So that's also one thing we're looking for with the donations.
Can openers.
Yeah, can openers.
There you go.
Yeah.
So before we get to the food drive, and I'll come right back to you, Sarah, on that. So 2 major organizations have contributed significantly to the pantry over the last 6 months since I've had you in, both Pepsi and Community Aid. Can you share with us a little bit about how those organizations got involved with the pantry and what they were able to do for us?
Sure. So I'm going to let Sarah speak to the Pepsi donation. That's something she spearheaded and helped take the lead on, and I think she did awesome with that, so I want to let her talk about that.
Of course.
But shout out to Sandy Box and the Education Foundation for connecting us and being able to submit for a grant for us through the Community Aid Foundation. It's an annual grant, so it's each year that we have to apply for it. It's $3,000, and it's for food insecurity. So we use it to help fill like our items in the pantry, or we can use it towards students who are in need that need additional funds on their meal plans.
Awesome. That is so cool. And, I know that we've had a really good partnership with Community Aid over the years, not only just through the foundation. I did not know that when we had the Community Aid been here on campus, they received money from what was being donated there, which I never realized, which I thought was really cool. But thank you so much to Community Aid for sharing that grant with us. All right, Sarah, tell us a little bit about Pepsi. How did you get Pepsi involved, and what were they able to do for the College Pantry?
Yep. So I was introduced to Pepsi at a breast cancer walk on City Island, and they got me in contact with someone who was in charge of the donations, and I was able to inform them what we were low on, and they supplied us with boxes of granola bars, crackers, and oatmeal. And one day, Lindsay and I went out to Carlisle, and we filled the van full of all these items, and it filled the shelves in the pantry.
Now, how would you say, and we'll come back to Pepsi in just a second, let's just say, how full is the pantry? I mean, at this point, like, is this something that we're always in need of different things, and we should sort of not necessarily have these drives and just constantly be trying to fill it, or is it in good shape right now?
So right now it's definitely in better shape than it was a couple months ago. Right around the Pepsi drive, I just remember like looking in there, and I was actually talking to my mom about it, and I was just like, the shelves were pretty bare. Yeah. But we were also getting a lot of requests, and after the Pepsi drive, 3 things were covered. Like I said, crackers, oatmeal, and granola bars. But then I think with the help of the grant, we were able to supply a lot of stuff. So now the shelves look pretty good. But I think it's something with the donation drive that we should just be constantly doing.
Well, and I'm sorry, again, congratulations on making that connection with Pepsi, and such a great partner that hopefully in the future they can continue to help us.
I was going to add that we tripled our requests for fall term.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah. So I actually went back and looked at fall 22, and we have tripled the amount of requests, and it's not, the majority are not from housing students.
Really?
So the word's really getting out there. So when Sarah, is setting us up with this, like it's really beneficial to continue, because we already have taken off pretty quickly on requests for this term alone. So
just a question or a thought maybe. I wonder if you could write something up that we can share in our announcements in our online classes, because I know personally I am always pushing it out to our on-ground students, but I wonder how many of our evening and online students know that this is even a thing outside of maybe reading, but I think that would be really cool, because then there's a faculty full-time email button you could send it out to and say, yes, hey, would you guys mind putting this in your announcements board? I think that would be, for the online classes, I think that would be a way to, again, drive the amount of engagement that you're getting with the online students and evening students as well.
And I can attach the flyer that has the QR code, too, that you could just post right on Blackboard.
Absolutely. I think that would be fantastic. Well, this is a good segue to our Gamma Beta Phi food drive that's coming up over the next couple of weeks. It's themed toward the Super Bowl, and, of course, as we record this, we have found out who the Super Bowl contenders are going to be, the Kansas City Chiefs and the San Francisco 49ers. Sarah, as a huge Swiftie, I'm sure is super excited that the Chiefs are going, so we can see more. And now all of a sudden everyone's concerned about how she's going to get from Japan to Las Vegas, so that's a whole thing. But tell us a little bit more about the food drive and the theme of it and how we can get involved here on campus.
Absolutely. So next week, the next 2 weeks, actually. We'll have bins in A-Tech and probably around the rest of campus, so Milano and Bollinger. We will have bins towards the 2 teams that are in the Super Bowl, and then commercials and the halftime performer. So whichever reason you were watching the Super Bowl, you can put your donations in there, and there'll be a list of the most needed items sent out through Student Central, Central Station, all those platforms.
So you're going to have basically 4 boxes. You're going to have one for the Niners, one for the Chiefs, one for the commercials, one for the halftime performer. I think that's super cool. Okay, well, what's going to happen? Whoever has the most, like, what does the winner get?
Just get satisfaction that they're helping out the college.
I love it. No, I think that that's really unique, and I've honestly never heard a food drive like this before, so I think it's going to be really, really cool. Just real quick, if you could just give a list of a couple things that are always in need at the pantry as a sort of place to start.
I think fruit cups are a big thing, definitely because it's more of like a healthier option too. So fruit cups, applesauce, always canned vegetables, always cleaning supplies, so disinfectant spray, maybe bleach, Windex, shampoo, conditioner, body wash. Anything else in there?
Yeah, definitely the cleaning supplies, like multi-purpose cleaner, scrub brushes, things like that. They're really needed. That's our lowest stocked area right now.
Lindsay, I think that's so awesome that you have decided to, at whatever point, put cleaning supplies in there because not only are they needed, they're also probably some of the most expensive things that students might need. And of course, because of being in the suites, there's cleaning duties that need to be done. If you don't have the cleaning supplies, it makes it kind of difficult to do. So I think that's really cool. So everybody go out and buy a couple of those items so we can really, really show the college what we're made of here on this Game of Beta 5 food drive. And again, more information you can find in Student Central and Central Station between now and the big game. So I'm going to do everything I can to help out. I hope everyone else around campus will do the same. Well, one of the things, before we move on to talking about the late night breakfast, one of the things that in our pre-show meeting we talked about is you're hiring for RAs for the spring term. So first of all, what might being an RA do for somebody? Maybe what is some of the compensation, and what if somebody's interested? How can they go about applying?
Sure. So being an RA is more than just, you get your own room, you get your own bathroom, and you get to be in a suite and hang out with people. So being an RA is more of like a support. They're there to help students connect. They're there to help students work through issues or disagreements. They're there to communicate with them on updates, make sure they're engaged on campus. They're also there, helping make sure the cleaning standard's done. Like we have students that come in and may not know how to clean or may not know what to use. So they're a good resource that way. They also have a lot of leadership skills. So being able to sit there and talk someone through, a disagreement or communication or just any general problem. And that's something that a lot of the college, I think, misses with our student RA staff. So they're not just there just to do check box. They're there to actually help support the students. And it's very important with our population of students, especially with some of the resources being more remote based. Students really do better face to face. So they're there, whether it's what time is the health center, how do I get there, welcoming them for move-in weekend. Like New Night's weekend is huge. And the RAs have done a lot of work to make that something special for our students. They've created a Jeopardy game to help them with learning the policies as they first get here. They assist in running, claiming the castle, and doing icebreakers so that everybody can get to know each other a little better and showing them around campus. So getting them involved. So it's something that really spans runs the gamut when it comes to the time span of a student moving in versus, when they're graduating and moving out. So they really do cover the gamut on everything in between. We do hire in the spring. So applications open week 1, they close week 5, and then we'll do interviews. All those that are offered and accepted will do training over the 2-week break between spring and summer, and then they'll start their duties in the summer term. We are looking to hire, we have 8 spots, so we're looking to fill those going into this next academic year. Some of the compensation, you get free housing, you get free utilities, you get a free meal plan, and you get a stipend.
That's incredible.
Yeah, something that we've worked really hard on. And with Romeo, our Vice President of Student Services support, we were able to get that pushed through. So I have to give him a lot of credit on that. It's something that he and I have worked for a number of years to get approved, and something that our student RAs really do deserve for the amount of work that they do.
Absolutely.
So
Let me ask you, Sarah. I mean, obviously, this is something that you have been an RA pretty much ever since you got here. What was it about the program that spoke to you that said, because again, it is a lot of work, and I see the amount of work that you put in. Why was this something that was interesting to you?
Yeah, so I wanted to build my leadership qualities and my communication skills, and looking back 6 terms ago, I've definitely grown from where I was, and I'm communicating with students, staff, faculty, everyone across the board, communicating from the student's perspective, staff perspective, and just communicating everything across the board. And I think being an RA has helped that tremendously.
I want to highlight one of the things that you'd mentioned, and that's about leadership. One of the things that I talk with Steve, I do a lot of work with career services. One of the number one skills or attributes that employers for entry-level people that are often, college graduates going into their first job is leadership. But the question is, I have students ask, well, how can I show that? How can I illustrate the leadership skills that I have? Well, number one is being a resident assistant, because not only are you working with people, there's conflict resolution. Sarah, you mentioned your communication skills, but it's also you are leading that group of people to hopefully expand their horizons, to get involved on campus, or to even just understand the resources that are available to them here so they can graduate. And so of any type of position that you could have, to me, an RA screams leader.
Yes.
And also, just generally, obviously, getting involved in campus clubs and organizations, that can also help, taking a leadership position there. But gosh, if I am looking for somebody to hire and I'm looking for a future leader and I see that they're an RA for years, that screams to me like I have to hire this person. So I think that's a wonderful point that I wanted to highlight. So congratulations.
Being a leader is a big part of it too, but what people fail to realize is when you get out into the workforce, the biggest thing that your employer needs you to be able to do is think on your feet and be a problem solver. And those are skills that you use every single day in that position, whether it's an RA or it's just an in housing being employed. You have to think on your feet, and you have to just continue to be problem solving, looking at things from different angles, outside the box. And that's something that really truly stands out when you get into the interview. And I think sometimes they just think of the leadership aspect, and that's not, when I see a RA and I'm looking at hiring someone, that's not all I'm seeing as leader. Is also okay, this person can think on their feet, they can problem solve, this should be okay, we can train them this. So just something to keep that in mind too.
That is I'm so glad that you mentioned that. All right, the last thing I want to talk about is an event that anyone who's been here for any length of time is aware of, and that is the late night breakfast that's going to be taking place during week 8. I want to reach out to Lindsay, because obviously, Lindsay, this is something that your office, takes care of, and this is one of the most looked forward to events every single term. So tell us a little bit more, maybe some of the background about the late night breakfast, and then any more information that you can share with us as we get ready for our winter version.
So late night breakfast is something that we've been having for a number of years here at the college. And
as long as I can remember.
Yeah.
When did you start here?
I started here in February of 2014.
Okay. So I started in March of 2013, but I remember about when I started is when you came on board.
Yeah.
So you're about to celebrate 10 years.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been going on since
Actually, this week.
Congratulations. No, but that's something that I always remember doing. It's just always so highly regarded. So tell me a little bit more about what we can expect for late night breakfast.
So late night breakfast used to be staff and faculty would run that, and students would be able to come through and get their breakfast, and it would normally be around finals time. So since then, it's kind of morphed a few times with Student Government Association leading that. But we recently had the idea of the student RAs taking it over. At least for this term, we'll see if it's a success, and then we can keep going. So we're looking at week 8, probably looking at Wednesday or Thursday, and it's going to be the same time. I think it's 9 to 11. And then we're going to serve pancakes, bacon, eggs, all the stuff that normally would come with late night breakfast. We're going to have a couple games, have some music, and we're also going to have some information there, quick like takeaways for students to look through and ask the RAs about their position, if we have anybody who's interested, how to apply and things like that. So we're going to have that set up there too. We're looking forward to doing it. It's something that the RAs were really excited when we were talking about what programming event we wanted to do for the term. So yeah, if everyone's around, come out week 8.
Sarah, are you looking forward to cooking for everyone?
I am. I think it'll be fun to flip pancakes.
Do you like to cook?
I do.
I know that you like
She
to bake
does.
because you made like some of the best muffins ever when we did our homecoming soccer game. That was great, but I didn't know that you would like to cook.
Yeah.
I love to cook. Sometimes it's a little bit of a hassle when you have to do it a lot, but I do enjoy cooking very much. Oh, well, I wish you the best for week 8 and the late night breakfast. Thank you so much for taking the lead on that, and hopefully it's something that the residence assistants can do in the future. So. Yeah. All right, just for a quick recap, as always, if you need anything from the College Pantry, you can go to Student Central on Quick Links or through the CPC app, or, of course, any of these things you can email Lindsay about directly if you're not sure where to go. But we have to get ready for the Gamma Beta 5 food drive, and, of course, I'm probably not going to be putting anything in the halftime show because I'm not a super big fan of Usher. Hopefully they do something unique and different. He's already done a Super Bowl halftime show before. So.
He has.
But I'm going to root for the Chiefs. I know a lot of people are not rooting for the Chiefs, but I was rooting for them the last 2 weeks, so I got to root for them one more time for the Chiefs. So I'll be putting my stuff into the Chiefs bin, but of course you can do either Chiefs, 49ers, or the halftime show or the commercials.
Commercials all the way.
As someone who works in marketing, it is interesting to watch the commercials. I just can't fathom spending that much money on a commercial.
No, neither can I.
Before we get off the College Pantry, again, thank you so much to donations from Pepsi and the community aid grant that we received this year. Of course, if you're interested in becoming a residence assistant, not only can you come out to the late night breakfast for more information, but you can reach out to Lindsay for additional information and to potentially interview for the position. And of course, during week 8 and down the road, you will see it in Student Central and Central Station, late night breakfast. Of course, you got to come out and have some of Sarah's pancakes. I mean, I'm sure they're going to be fantastic. So as always, Lindsay, you keep super busy in your area. How you get everything done that you get done, I have no idea, but I give you massive kudos for continuing to run a tight ship.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you.
And Sarah, thank you for all of your efforts. I can't put into words how much we are going to miss you here when you graduate. We do have you for one more term, though, so we are going to continue enjoying spending time with you. But gosh, I always say it's sad. Of course, it's not sad for Sarah because she's going to have graduated in 7 terms. But it's and the legacy that you've created here it will never be forgotten. But we're
bittersweet.
sad. But we're
bittersweet.
sad because you're so awesome, and sometimes it's not always easy to replace someone like you.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, thank you so much, Sarah, for joining us today.
Thank you.
All right, well, that's going to do it for this episode of the Nightly News Podcast. I'd like to thank the Director of Housing and Residence Life, Lindsay Garber, and Nightly News reporter Sarah Walters for being here today. We will see you again next time on the Nightly News Podcast.